It's a big misconception. Kegels are very overrated, and people think that Kegels is the only solution. They
Mhm.
will keep on doing Kegels and Kegels and Kegels, and if the muscles are already tight, you're making your symptoms worse. Do not push when you pee or when you're having a bowel movement.
Today, we're joined by Slesha, a pelvic floor physiotherapist here at Rooted Family Wellness Center. She's passionate about helping people better understand and care for their bodies at every stage of life. We're excited to have her here to break down some of the myths and bring awareness to pelvic floor health. So thank you for joining us today, Slesha.
Thank you for having me today. I'm glad to talk about this.
We are too. It's one of those things that, used to be, I feel like it's getting better now, but used to be something that was very uncomfortable to talk about, right? Hush, hush about what is the pelvic floor and the conditions around it. So let's start off with what a pelvic floor physio is, maybe what our pelvic floor actually is. So maybe just start right there.
So, pelvic floor muscles are basically the group of the muscles located at the base of your body where your pelvis is. So, the pelvic floor physiotherapy is to assess those muscles and just making sure that they are functioning properly. And also, they don't work in isolation, they work as a team with other muscles in your body. So, we also need to work on coordination as well. So, now some people think that we just have to strengthen those muscles, but it's more about relaxation and also coordination as well. And again, most of the people are not even aware about that they have a pelvic floor or something like a pelvic floor physio exists. Another thing I would say, I'd like to explain the pelvic floor as a hammock or a trampoline. If it's too loose, it will create some dysfunction, like it won't support things properly. And if it's too tight, it is not moving properly. So that could also lead to some pain and other dysfunction of your pelvic floor as well.
So if you imagine like jumping on a trampoline, if it's
Yes.
you're going to hit the ground if it's too loose,
Yes.
and if it's too tight, you're
You're
just
not gonna
rattling
You
your
bounce.
whole body.
yeah.
That's a great explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if,
Mhm.
after you're like, you have a trampoline, you have a hammock. Do you give those analogies to clients or?
I do. I do a lot
Yeah.
about trampoline because most of the
Most
clients can
people are
relate
tight.
to that. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why recommending Kegels, and I guess that, we can go back and forth on this, but what you're
Kegels.
describing is you're seeing more and more tightness, not necessarily, and sometimes in combination with weakness, but not necessarily. And so by prescribing Kegels, you might actually be tightening that area. So do you want to just jump right into that? Because I feel like that is
Yeah.
everyone's starting point for pelvic floor. It's like
Mhm.
just Kegels. So let's
Just do
maybe unpack
Kegels,
that
just
a
do
little
Kegels.
bit.
Yes. So again, it's a big misconception. And I think Kegels are very overrated in pelvic floor industry. And most of the people think that Kegels is the only solution. They will keep on doing Kegels and Kegels and Kegels. And if the muscles are already tight, you're making your symptoms worse. So it's always better to work on relaxation as well as coordination with your diaphragm and the other muscles in your body as well. So again, it's like if your muscles are already tight, you're trying to strengthen something which is already tight without even working on relaxation, and that will just make things worse.
I can't imagine that in like
Yeah.
other parts of our body, right? Like if we have a tight neck and then we're like, okay, squeeze it
Yeah.
more, right? We have to learn to relax those muscles. So it's very similar. So what is a Kegel actually? Let's go there because I think there's might be even misunderstandings about what a Kegel is and like you said, when it's appropriate.
So Kegels is basically, some people would think that to squeeze your pelvic floor muscles or to contract your pelvic floor muscles. Some people imagine that if you're peeing, you need to stop your pee midway, and that is Kegels. What I tend to explain it to my clients is that more than contracting and squeezing, think about lifting up those muscles, because when you work on contraction or squeezing, sometimes you use your ab muscle, sometimes you use your glutes or your inner thighs as well to compensate for everything. So my ideology is that imagine a blueberry and you're trying to pick up that blueberry or lift up the blueberry when you're doing a Kegel. And it's more recommended again when you're focusing only on the strength, and you don't have any tight muscles in your pelvic floor. And that we can only do by assessment. Sometimes when we do hear or when we talk about symptoms from the clients, we get to know a little bit area, like we have a little bit idea about if the muscles are tight or if the muscles are weak. Like some people with prolapse issue can have weak pelvic floor muscles, but if then some people are having incontinence, it could be either tightness or weakness. It could be either or. So it's always
Which I
better
think
to have
people
it checked.
automatically assume when there's incontinence that it's weakness, but it could be
tightness as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Or uncoordination too of
True.
the things that are happening in there.
Yeah. So what I usually recommend is let's start with relaxation first, then work on coordination, and then dive into strengthening of the pelvic floor.
It's like a little undoing, right? That kind of tightness, then pattern, then get to that.
Well, and like you said, Erin, when you go to get some body work done on a sore muscle, they're going to work to relax that muscle to relieve soreness. They're not going to be like, okay, do all these exercises to get it acting better. You have to actually undo what's kind of gotten knotted up and then work on coordinating and strengthening. Yeah, it makes sense.
And interestingly, I have seen that people don't know how to relax at all. Like they have always heard about Kegels, but they don't know how to relax their muscles. It's like teaching them everything from the basics and then working on Kegels. And again, as you mentioned, Erin, most of the times people do Kegels wrong as well, like using all the other muscles except the pelvic floor. So,
so there's lots going on. It's like they might not even be what you need. And if you are doing them, you might even be doing them wrong. I literally, as you were talking, I'm like, oh, blueberries. I'm like, you start to signal it. I'm like, oh, I'm going to start doing those. So why, I guess then you described them that people don't know how to relax. So I guess like one thing is like like you said, we don't even know we have a pelvic floor, which is a disservice to us because everyone has one, right? That's the thing, men and women. And this idea that we don't even know how to relax it. So what are you seeing? Is that our society? Are we used to like sucking in? Is that what a lot of women, particularly, I know you work with mostly women, but like, why do you think there is such a tightness out there?
I think it's more about sucking in, as you mentioned. Like, we as women, we are very conscious about our body. We'll tend to suck our belly in, suck our bum in, and just stand doing that. And second thing, because the muscles are internally, we don't see them. We are not aware about how they are working. So we don't know what relaxation is. And even sometimes I've noticed that if they are too tight or if they are clenching, it's all involuntary or unconsciously. People are not even aware about that they are doing something like this.
I'd like to tell the little story of what happened with me. So I'm now in my mid-50s, but I think I was about 40 and I experienced my first incontinence. I was jumping on a trampoline with a youth, and I dribbled, and I was like, "What in the sweet heck is going on here?" And I went to my doctor, and I explained what had happened. Where I know many women would even have trouble doing that, and I get that. But he was a male doctor, and he said, "Welcome to your 40s." And then nothing else was offered to me. So then I was like, seriously? Like this? Okay, well, I guess it's normal and I'm just going to have to deal with it. And I then had an appointment with my naturopath and she was like, no, go see a pelvic floor therapist. And I was like, a who? And that was 13 years ago, right? Like, and then I went and saw a pelvic floor therapist and then, whoa, lo and behold, I got to work on the things that were causing that and things improved. Welcome to my 40s was my answer.
I have a similar story. After I had my first and I had, I had forceps and like the whole shebang with his delivery, a long pushing stage. And I went to my gynecologist or like a gynecologist follow-up after 6 weeks. Oh no, 2 months. I was experiencing weakness and pain and things. So I went at 2 months and she said, "Oh, you look like you just had a baby." And I walked away from there, and I didn't know about pelvic floor physios until my second,
She
right? And
just
so,
said like, well,
Mhm.
welcome to your new
Right,
vagina. This is
right.
what you have now.
Yeah. So I write it, and it takes someone, and fortunately, that's what I love about Rooted Family and like the work we do, right? That multidisciplinary piece around someone coming in for a massage and then being like, what is a pelvic floor, right? So that exposure and that normalizing it too. And that I love when your like clients who have had a baby tell their mom to come. Like that for me is one of the most
Mhm.
beautiful moments of like, my daughter told me I needed to come and see you. I love those moments. So like that generational piece of trying to normalize some of this again, like normalizing the right things, not the wrong
Right.
things. The
Right.
Yep.
leaking
Yeah.
is not normal. The having a baby and feeling, I had a prolapse, right? So like that weakness and pain as normal. So I love that we're shifting to a new normal around this. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
for postpartum, surprisingly, which is a very good thing, I'm seeing a lot of post-cesarean birth
Good.
moms right now. And I was so happy about it because most of the time people don't come to a pelvic floor physio because they're like, we had a cesarean birth. Our pelvic floor is not affected. Why do we have to see a pelvic physio? But I'm like, for those 9 months, your pelvic floor was already under so much of stress because of the baby. And some moms, they have the entire labor, they are pushing, and then they have a cesarean birth. So that also just affects your pelvic floor a lot. So that's a good thing that at least it's getting more, people are more aware about it now.
Also general weakness in the abdomen, right? So like you said, it's a
Exactly.
whole system. So
System.
if you've had a cesarean birth, you've been cut, like your muscles are going to get weak. And so you have to rebuild that strength. So part of that could not be also just the general weakness in the abs. So do you work a lot with that too? Like trying to regain connection to some of those core muscles
Yes.
too? Yeah.
That's what I've heard from most of the postpartum moms, that we do not feel that connect with our body anymore. So that's
Mm-hmm.
what we work on, like just building that connection, working on the core activation, pelvic floor activation, because again, your core takes a backseat during pregnancy.
Mhm.
I find that I teach a fitness class with postpartum moms, and I ask that. I'm like, are you guys having trouble like finding that ability to connect with your core? And most of them say yes, right? So I love you offer classes to kind of that roots restoration where it is about that, like slow down, right? That
Yes.
recovery piece where we think we can just go from 0 to 100. And then yet, you ask moms and they're like, yeah, I can't engage my abs the same way. I can't kind of feel my belly button anymore. So how do you help then, like in that recovery time? Like, is it slowing right down and pulling people back from going too fast too soon?
Yes, I had a
Mm-hmm.
client who came to me. I think she was about 6 weeks, and she was like, I started running and I feel heaviness. And I'm like, you need to not run right now because you need to start working on just like some contractions, like pelvic floor contractions, core strengthening, then work on your glutes, inner thighs, and stuff. You start gently and then you build yourself to go back to running. You cannot just
Mhm.
go run. And they were like, my OB said I'm clear to do everything at 6 weeks. And I'm like, mm, yeah. And I'm
Well,
like, no. Because running is like a lot of single leg stability exercises. And you
Mm-hmm.
need to make sure that your muscles are strong enough to at least stand on one leg without losing your balance. And then you go back to
Mm-hmm.
running. Yeah.
Hmm. Do
Recently,
you,
they have come with like a return to running protocol. So
mm,
mm,
it's good that they are doing research about those stuff,
mm-hmm.
which they did not do before.
How does
So
your pelvis change then, like in pregnancy? Because I definitely felt that. Like I was a runner before, and then I had a similar experience. Actually, like I didn't go that fast, but I was trying to run again, and I just was like, oh my goodness, like everything feels loose and different. Like, does it actually widen? What is kind of that transformation that happens, or does it depend on the birth or the individual?
I think it again, it's more subjective as well.
Mm,
Everybody heals differently. Also, it depends on how active they were during pregnancy, what were they doing during pregnancy, or even before conceiving.
mm,
Now, when we talk about running, as I mentioned, a lot of single leg stability. So we have to make sure that all your muscles are strong enough right now. And before that, we need to focus on just making sure that you're able to coordinate, because connection is the big thing. If you don't have that coordination with your upper body and not with your lower half of the body, it's just going to be all mismanaged as well. So yeah, so
And
just like getting
Makes
back
sense.
in shape slowly.
And you had relaxin in your body, that right? That is the
Yeah.
chemical that relaxes I remember I stumbled a lot more but my back actually felt a lot better in pregnancy. Was surprisingly, a lot of people actually have relief from some of the symptoms that they had before. But that relaxin, I don't know if you can talk to that, Slesha, around that recovery part too. Like we still have some in the postpartum period.
Yeah, I think we do have under like 3 to 4 months postpartum, and that's why we tell people that you need to slow down, because also you're more prone to injuries, because your joints are still loose and your muscles are trying to just working more to stabilize everything. So if you start with high impact exercises before you work on that area, it can just cause problem. It's not just you, it's also hormones.
Do you feel like this is another cultural piece, right?
The return to your body.
The influence of the social media and peers, and get back. How quickly can you get back to your previous self? And if that's something that you're carrying with you, then that's how you're going to move forward, and then your body will usually make you slow down.
I have a client currently, and she's about 8 to 9 weeks postpartum, but she does a lot of Google stuff, TikTok and everything. And she was like, by 6 weeks, I should be able to do this. Why am I not able to do it right now? And I'm like, everybody's healing process is different. You don't have to compare yourself with somebody else when you're healing, especially postpartum.
Such a disservice when you like, my body was different than Christine's after having it, right? Like we cannot possibly judge what happened.
I used to tell my clients, it took your body 9 months to get this way. How about you consider 9 months to 12 months for it to possibly, but your body is just going to have a new normal. Being attached to getting it back to the way it was can be quite emotionally troubling for some people.
I was going to say then, to like demystify the, your treatment, I guess, right? So that is, I think, what does hold a lot of people back. They might be fearful of the internal exams. So can you speak to a little bit more? And sometimes I know you don't. And if they are very, very, very uncomfortable, right? So how do you kind of guide folks into that who may be a little bit apprehensive or don't want even an internal exam?
It's completely fine if they don't want an internal exam. It's like completely optional. So what we do is we start with conversation. Like, what are your symptoms? When did they started? How is it affecting your daily activities? And what goals are you for treatment? And then we move into the external assessment part. We do a lot in the external assessment as well. Like just starting with how your breathing pattern is, how all your muscles around your pelvic floor is. Also, how you're moving. We'll ask the client to do a squat, a lunge, see their balance, because again, coordination is the big part of it. We also want to see how your hip mobility is when you're squatting or lunging as well. Sometimes people have a lot of neck tension and jaw tension as well, which can affect your pelvic floor function as well. Sometimes a lot of feet instability can also affect your pelvic floor function as well. So, and as I mentioned earlier, when you give us the symptoms, we kind of get an idea if your pelvic floor is going to be too tight or too weak, or if it's a coordination issue, or if it's like a pressure management issue. And once we are done with the external assessment, then we explain everything about the internal assessment. I show them the diagrams of how your muscles are, what each muscle will do and what are their functions, and also why is it important to do an internal assessment. And again, it's completely optional. Some people are not comfortable with it, and I totally respect it. I'm like, okay, we'll just work on the external. I already have a little bit idea about from your symptoms, what are we looking into, and then we can start with that treatment. And then after 2 or 3 weeks, if we don't feel that it's not going in the right path, we can reassess it. And then I'll just explain about the internal assessment all over again. And if they are comfortable doing it, we can do it that time, or we might just change some things or some approaches.
I was always surprised, like when I started my pelvic floor physio, how much time she didn't spend internally. We spent so much time on my hips, on my glutes. Oh my goodness, right? Like my tight glutes, my diaphragm. She would get into my diaphragm. Oh my gosh, right? Like all of that tightness was actually more, causing more issues than my pelvic floor, right? Trying to support all of that tension and function in there. So, so I love that
And I
approach
think
that you
bringing
have.
light to that can help people be like, oh, well, maybe I will give this a go. Maybe, it's not as scary as it sounds.
But most people don't understand that your core also includes of your pelvic floor. They feel that it's only your abdominal muscles. And I'm like, no, it's your diaphragm, your abdominals, and your pelvic floor. So we just have to work as a team and not in isolation. So,
and really bringing that awareness to the link, right? That like we as doulas, we would always talk about how loose lips, right? If you want to like relax down there, your mouth and if you are like clenched, you're probably very tight, like
right
you're not
there.
going to relax down. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's all linked.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that connection. The jaw piece is so fascinating. Like we, and talking when someone's giving birth, right? That ability to relax the jaw, that connection is really interesting. It's fascinating.
I think we also wanted to dive in a little bit and talk about some pediatric care, right? So children and their pelvic floor and the impacts around that and how a physiotherapist can help with that.
So yes, something like pediatric pelvic floor exists, and it's usually for kids somewhere between 4 years to 17, 18 years old, and we can help them with bedwetting, constipation, daytime leakages, fear of going to the toilet, or also with potty training. Sometimes with teen girls especially, we can just talk about menstruation, how to use the tampons, menstrual cups, and again, if they have any questions related to that as well. Some people, like especially dancers and gymnasts, their posture is very messed up because of their sports, and also so that we work. So that also plays a great role in it affects your pelvic floor as well because the postural issues. So then we work on that as well.
Yeah, and you're not doing internal exams at that point unless older girls maybe, but that younger gender, which is interesting, right? That's was always my first thought. Pediatric, like how do you how do you do an internal exam for that? So there's no internal, it's always those external systems, and you can do so much, like you said, even without doing internal exams on women. You can already assess, I bet. So if you know they're a dancer or a gymnast, you already have your
just a lot of lifestyle modifications and proper posture. That's what we start with, and also just showing them how to relax their muscles. There are different machines that we can use, which has basically games on it. So kids are motivated to contract and relax their muscles because they think, okay, they're playing a game. We try to make it like very fun based for the kid because it's easy to make a child feel bored and then they would not do their exercises at all. So we just have to make it more interesting and fun for them.
Can you imagine if every like prepubescent girl got like a
this
one-on-one,
education,
this education and comfort with their own bodies and knowledge? Like I'm so excited for this next generation. And we can talk more about it and get this get proper education.
Obviously are focusing more on female, but there are issues that males can have with pelvic floor as well. So in the pediatric kind of realm, if you were to see a little boy, what would that kind of look like?
So boys usually have a higher chances of having constipation and fecal urgency than girls. And for boys, it's like they tend to hold in rather going to the washroom to empty their bladder or bowels. First and foremost is FOMO. If they're playing a game or if they're into sports or anything, they would not want to Yes.
Or
So
in public, right? I know a lot of kids
exactly.
don't want to
Yeah,
poop in
want to
public
pee.
places,
Yeah,
so they wait until they get home from school or whatever. Yeah.
exactly. So
Uh,
it's more about tightening their muscles,
mm,
or their muscles are tight and they are not relaxing it often. So we just
hmm
work on down training, breathing, relaxation, and then just what we do is also asking them what their favorite sports is or what their favorite game is, and then we try to do the exercises which are related to that stuff so they're more motivated in doing that.
hmm
Sometimes kids are not even motivated to change anything in
hmm
them, so it gets a little difficult that time, but then we just have to try and try.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how would you like quickly we can wrap up maybe, but menopause, like how would you we can again we'd probably have to unpack this one a lot, but in terms of say like a woman my age, so like right like in 40s that are starting to experience some perimenopause. So we know that, or at least I've heard, right, that when estrogen starts to drop, we start to develop more weakness. So is kind of that, well, seeing a pelvic floor physio as early as you can in terms of, especially if you've had children, and then continuing to work with one, I think, into menopause. But what would be that symptoms? Would it start to show mostly with leaking, pain with intercourse, I think are big ones, but are there other kind of things to look for?
Yeah, so leaking, pain with intercourse, and sometimes people feel a lot of pressure and heaviness as well in their pelvic floor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Itching, dryness, and also prolapse symptoms as
Mm-hmm.
well. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
mismanagement of pressure, I would say. And older people tend to not take enough water as well. That also plays a great role. Not focusing on your breathing pattern. So it's like a whole system that we are working on and not just your pelvic floor. And sometimes people are sedentary lifestyle as well. So that also affects it.
It can create
Yeah.
the weakness as well. Yeah, for
Yes.
sure. Yeah, and I find if you start to have incontinence, you drink less, right? You're like, I don't, if I can't make it right at half an hour somewhere and I'm leaking, that's embarrassing, so I'm not going to drink. So there's this kind of
Mm-hmm.
reinforcing cycle to
Yes.
not
Yep.
being hydrated enough, right? So it can create a perfect storm as well. Yeah. Oh
Other
my
thing
goodness.
I've noticed is people doing like just in case pee.
Yes.
Like, I'll just pee right now. What if I don't get the washroom later? Which is
Mm,
bad because then you're creating that scheduling or that bad habit for your bladder.
hmm
But again, like we need to follow a proper schedule, like pee every 2 hours or every 3 hours and not just like just in case. Yeah. So
Yeah, I
that's,
can share. I started to have that. It started to become a bit, actually, it created a lot of anxiety for me. I would travel on the bus to work and I felt like I couldn't even make it to work. I'd jump off the bus to go to a washroom I knew was there. And so I started to create this habit, like you're saying, right? And then I started to kind of get anxious about it. So the anxiety would make me like, okay, I know there's a washroom. I'm going to jump off my bus. I'm going to
yeah.
go pee and I'm going to get back on the bus, go to work. And so I told my pelvic floor physio this, and it was actually, yeah, I had to work on it mentally. So she like coached me through the bus ride. It's like,
Yes.
okay, you can trust yourself. You can hold this. So that was like a huge revelation for me. And I didn't realize I'd created that habit and cycle. So yeah, I don't know if you can speak to that, but it was a big learning to trust myself again, and that strength again. Yeah. So do you see that? Do you see that a lot? That habit, even for adults, right? So children do it too, but even the habit breaking we do as adults. Yeah. You see
I
that.
have currently, I see a lot of like police officers and paramedics over here as well. And one of the police officer told me that I tend to hold my bladder for 12 hours straight. So then I was like, whenever I got washroom, I just used to pee. Like even if I don't have that urge to go use it, I would just use it because I didn't knew when I'm going to get it next time.
Yeah, if
Right.
they're in a police car for 12 hours, it's
Yeah.
like what are you gonna do?
Wow. What are you going to do? So you have to pee when you have a chance rather than
Opportunity.
Exactly.
when,
Yeah.
yeah. So we can create our own cycles about that. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Or nurses and
Wow.
doctors, I imagine too, right?
Oh,
True.
They're
yeah.
Yeah.
on their
Well,
feet all
even us
day.
as
So,
doulas, how
uh-huh.
much
I
have
know.
you sat there and held
I'm
my
going to go
lead?
get you some water. I have
But
to
even
go
like in the
pee
hospital rooms, we would have to leave the hospital room and go to like the waiting room because we wouldn't use the
in
client's
there. Yeah.
washroom there, right? I remember just
Yeah.
being like, I've got to go or I'm gonna die.
Yeah. And kids at school too, right? Like they have like they're scheduled, and so
Yes.
yeah, so there may be some habit forming there where they don't have to go, but they're being told you know that's washroom break now. So that intuition around wanting
But
and needing to
also,
go.
there was
Mhm.
quite a bit of shame as I remember as a young kid in school. I need to go to the bath.
Right?
You should have gone at recess. And then as soon as you kind of get that reaction from a teacher, you're like, okay, well, I'm not
I'm
going to
gonna
listen to my
hold
body
it,
anymore because I'm
right?
being dictated, right? Like
Mm,
we've been programmed from such a young age. And then
yeah.
the teasing that can happen in the bathroom at school, all of that stuff, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
And also, you're not allowed to drink water at certain time, right? In school, like
that's
that
right.
also plays a big role.
Yeah, yeah, the
Man.
restrictions around those things. So
Yes.
hopefully it's getting better. So as we wrap up, what is one thing
Hmm.
maybe you'd like people to know that about pelvic floor physio? Like what's the kind of parting message that you would like to tell people?
There's this one tip I usually give to my clients: do not push when you pee or when you're having a bowel movement. It's so bad for your like pelvic floor. You're just putting it under so much of tension, making it weak as well. So yeah, that's the one thing I would say. And the other thing is, if you notice that something is a little off, even just like a slightly bit as well, just go get it checked, because there is help available outside. And the sooner you go, the earlier the symptoms gets better and you start feeling way better. I have heard this from so many clients that I wish I had come in sooner. So yeah, like don't wait until that symptoms gets worse. Even if you feel that it's just starting, just go see a pelvic physio and just understand how your body works.
And leave your phone out of the bathroom, right?
Yes.
That was a big one now. Oh my goodness. You know, it used to be the men just going in and reading their paper or whatever. But you know,
Yeah.
all many of us now are kids. We're bringing our phones into that washroom, and they can be in there for a long time, right? Like you were saying that as much as like forcing it down, it's also that lingering on the toilet, and it can
You
cause a
should
lot of
not
pressure.
spend more than 10 minutes in the toilet. Like, that's
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
max you do.
We didn't
Hmm.
even talk about hemorrhoids, which
No.
is closely linked to pelvic floor issues, right? So
Yeah.
we'll have to revisit
More to
some of these
come. We'll do
subjects
some
and
more
Yes.
TMI
piece them
stuff.
together.
Oh, well, thanks for joining us, Slesha. This
Thank
was fabulous. I
you.
hope people learned a lot. I'm sure they did. This was amazing. Just again,
Thank you
unpacking
so
all of these
much.
pieces. Yeah. Thanks so much.